Hey everybody, Dauntless here, and welcome to another fan-made Space Quest game. Now this is actually the very first fan-made Space Quest game that I ever played. I think it was the first one that was ever released. At least it was the first fan-made one that was an actual adventure game. I think they had a few like little arcade-style games before, but this was the first time that there was an actual full-on fan-made Space Quest adventure game, which for me at the time, this was post-Space Quest 6. So needless to say, a few years later, there was nothing. It was a Space Quest drought, so to speak. Now, I haven't played this in years, so I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I do tend to remember stuff when I start playing it, and it'll kind of come back, hopefully. But for the most part, I don't remember much about it. I've heard varying reviews that it's got a lot of bugs and stuff like that. So let's see how it goes this time, and who knows, maybe I'll have a different opinion of it. But we'll see what happens. But here it is. The first Space Quest fan game I ever played, Space Quest: The Lost Chapter. And you may notice I have to do this in DOSBox. You can't see it behind the camera here, but I have to type in, I have to do this using the prompt. There you go, you can see it kind of up here in a little bit. Monster Vision. The unofficial Sierra Space Quest. Welcome to the unofficial lost chapter in the life of Brewmeister Roger Wilco. You think you know everything that there was to know about Roger's adventures? Well, at least up until 6, and then at which point there were no more. Ugh. But this adventure is one that you won't find anywhere else. No data records exist, and Roger himself seems to be unsure exactly what transpired during this period in his life. So sit back and take the reins of the most star-spangled hero-like, sometimes famous, silly, clumsy, and confused space jockey of them all. Star-spangled? I'm not sure if he was necessarily patriotic, but since Roger, and indeed Space Quest as a whole, is a registered trademark of Sierra, I have made sure to recognize them. They had no part in this game, and I hope I have done them no insult through the production of The Lost Chapter. I have great respect for the people at Sierra, and I am a great fan of I'm a great fan of the Space Quest series. I hope they will look kindly on my efforts, tame though they may be in comparison with their own. I hope anyone who plays this game gets as much enjoyment from it as I got creating it. Monster the Monster presents. Oh, it's using the original Space Quest 1 graphic style. Man, he did everything. I tested the sound, so you should be able to hear me over the music, but it's still coming through my headphones like crazy. Welcome to the finished version of Space Quest: The Lost Chapter. This is a game born of my affection for the Sierra's Space Quest series. It's an original adventure of Roger Wilco, Janitor Supreme, Planet Savior by default. I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Feel free to contact me at monsterdmonster@hotmail.com to make any comments or questions you may have. I'm going to have to remember that just in case. You're thinking this looks very familiar. Well, the truth is, you're apparently still drifting aimlessly in space after Space Quest 2. That's right, I forgot to mention, this takes place between Space Quest 2 and 3. If you remember, you recently stopped Vohal. You think recently you could have been drifting for years. Anyway, you stopped him from carrying out his threat of salesman infestation, ultimately destroying the twisted, warped scientist himself. Looks like you're still drifting into the empty void of space, your fate unknown in helpless slumber. Only the janitor gods know what's in store for you. I don't understand your request. Uh-oh. I love the sound effects. I will admit, every time I play an old EGA-style fan-made game, like the old Text-Parser with that sound effect, with the sound effects and stuff, it's just, I find it so charming. I can't get over it. Unknown to you, some strange force slams into your drifting craft. The shockwave of some far distant star going supernova, or perhaps it was just the burp of a Chronermian space beast. Anyway, it has pushed your spacecraft into the gravitational field of some unknown planet. Your craft becomes caught in the planet's gravitational field and starts a rapid and shaky descent towards the planet's surface. Though you're not awake to know, or hope, or anything right now, if you could hope, you'd hope the small escape craft can handle entering the planet's atmosphere, and what is likely to be a rough landing as well. Is that the same animation they did in Space Quest 1? Maybe I'm wrong. It looks very much like the animation from Space Quest 1 when you crash on Corona. The ship somehow passes safely through the planet's atmosphere. Well, it wouldn't be a very useful pod if it couldn't re-enter atmosphere, would it? It's a very useless escape pod. It basically just floats in space until somebody finds it. Let's see. And hurtles... Excuse me. The ship somehow passes safely through the planet's atmosphere and hurtles toward the planet's surface. Try not to burp a lot. Your ship screams out of the sky, headed for the lush jungle of the planet below. You sincerely hope an unwelcome tree doesn't make you and your ship a pile of debris. Your ship slams into the soft soil of the jungle floor. It is really a miracle your ship did not hit anything coming in. The amount of local plant life here is astonishing. Actually, it's amazing the ship didn't burn up while plummeting through the planet's atmosphere. This ship must be made of some pretty stern stuff. You would be duly impressed if you were awake to be impressed. Since you aren't awake, take it from me. You'd be impressed. Something happens inside the escape craft after the crash landing. Having had a rough jolt, the computer control seems to have been jarred enough to cause the sleep chamber to shut off and open. Which means you should be waking up any second, Roger. You start to wake after the sleep chamber opens. Ugh. Your eyes slowly begin to open, and you try to adjust to the light. You try to figure out where exactly you are. Okay, so I'm going to say this could be just a little bit of overshadowing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty impressive, the detail, but I think there's a little overshadowing, so it actually looks kind of like he's, you know, a 90-year-old man or something. Vaguely remembering the escape craft, you realize you are in the sleep chamber of the ship. Okay, I think I'm playing. You take a closer look inside the ship. Okay, so I'm going to save here. I don't know why, but I'm doing that thing I always say, where I save as much as possible. You look around inside the ship and see the sleep chamber, the piloting controls, and exit door. Did you notice that when it crashed, they added in the crash mark later? I'm not complaining. It's just it's kind of interesting. It seems your escape pod has crashed in some kind of jungle from the looks outside. You exit the sleep chamber. Roger, is it just me, or is something wrong with your head? What? Well, holy lighter locks, Rog, man! Your hair is blonde! How in the name of Xenon did that happen? Well, well, somebody has a head full of blonde hair. How the heck did that happen, Roger? Like asking you would help. He wasn't blonde in the first two games. He had brown hair. Right? That's kind of interesting. I guess I never really thought of it. He became more and more blonde as time went on. Because if you remember, even in Space Quest 3, his hair was still kind of a light brown. It was like the color of the dirt surrounding the pod there. Huh! I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah. That's kind of funny. Okay. I will make a point right now since I can. Uh, it's another Labian-style planet. This is what I meant when I was talking in Decisions of the Elders, in Space Quest Zero, and in this one. All three of them, you end up on a planet, and it's like this either jungle or forest type planet, right? And they did that a lot in these fan games. All three EGA fan games decided to go the way of Space Quest 2. And I'll admit, I liked Space Quest 2, but I think of all of them, it was actually the weakest in my opinion, because I think the first one was a classic. The second one, the third one was a step up, and it had a pretty decent enough story. The second one, it was just like, I don't know how to describe it. It just felt muddled. Like there was a bunch of different stuff all tossed together. And maybe I'm kind of biased because obviously I'm a huge Space Quest 4 fan, and that one had a killer storyline, and overall it was one of the strongest of the entire series, if not the strongest. Obviously the weakest was Space Quest 6. That one was definitely bad. But, you know, it's just funny. I guess there's more people who liked number 2 than I thought, because there's so many games that replicated its same style where you're on a... Why is it so slow? Okay, I'm setting you to fast. There we go. But it's like, there's just so many games that replicate it. It must have been more popular than I thought. But I'll stand by my decision that I'm not as big a fan of Space Quest 2 as I was the others. So, needless to say, having to play 3 games where it seems like you're always heading to the Labian-style planet, I'm always just like, guys, come on. Some imagination, please. Let's see. The controls are just in front of the pilot's seat. The ship still has power, but there is nothing you can do with the controls right now. Well, except maybe open the door. Unless you want to go back to sleep, you should probably get out of the ship. You trigger the door from the controls. Ah, good. You exit the ship through the now open door. You step outside. Oh, it's the original Gold Rush! Oh, I see. I caught that. That's the graphics, like from the introduction. Man, he's got some serious muscle, man. You look out on the planet's surface, unsure as to what this place holds for you. You wonder if you're getting too old for this adventuring stuff. What? After 2 adventures? Come on, bud. What? You got to be kidding. You are Roger Wilco, savior of worlds, destroyer of Orats, and, wielder of mops. Nothing can stop you. Yep, Roger, a new adventure is just what the doctor ordered for a guy like you. Meanwhile, far up in space, unknown to you, events unfold as a result of your accident. A ship out in space, not far from the planet Roger just crashed on, makes an urgent call to its mothership. This is Shuttle XZ457. Come in, Verkotron. We are reading you just off the port, Kenro. What is the problem? How did the test go? The weapon detonated successfully. I have full readouts on the explosion. However, there was a problem after detonation. I picked up a spacecraft in the wake of the aftershock. My readings indicate it was an escape pod of some sort. I got life signs of an unknown type on board, but I lost signal. What? An escape vessel this far out? We didn't plan for this. Dock immediately and prepare a report. I'll inform the captain. Verkotron out. En route to the Verkotron, docking bay now. Prepare bay for incoming shuttle. The ship turns and approaches its mothership. The mothership opens its docking bay doors to receive the returning shuttle. This is Shuttle XZ457. I guess that is how you... No, that's not how you spell maneuvering. Ah! Maneuvering into docking bay now. Auto landing engaged, proceeding with docking procedure. That's the pod bay door from Space Quest 1 EGA. As the ship lands inside the Verkotron landing bay, we turn our attention back to you. Of course, you have no idea what just took place, so as usual, you are without a clue as to what's going on. Alright, saving again. You have come down from a small rise. Your ship is just up the rise, but you can't see it from here. You see a dense jungle before you. All manner of flora spreads in every direction. I'm glad that they changed the graphics of the character just a little bit. Like, it kind of... Despite the fact that I think he looks far too muscular, he looks really bulky in this. It's nice to see them try to put that little extra touch on there. Now, true EGA graphics, I always think, all generally look the same. If you look at all Space Quest EGA games, they all look exactly alike. So there is a part of me that kind of appreciates that a little more than this style. But, let's see. But, I do appreciate it when people kind of try to update the graphics or do a little something different. There is no need to go back to the ship yet. Ah. Okay, you look at the plant. It's odd looking, but that's about it. You didn't figure this out before? Oh, don't you dare start that crap. As I mentioned before, I get that they make fun of Roger a little bit, but I wouldn't. I hesitate to make fun of the player too much. Like, maybe a little bit of it here and there, but if you do it too much, then it's just like, you know, I don't like it. I think it's too much. Oh, what is that thing? There is not much vegetation here as there is not as much vegetation here as elsewhere. You also notice some of the local wildlife running around. There are a couple of pink creatures scurrying around, but they don't look interesting. Yeah, well... Oh, I'm not getting killed by it. It must be nice. Let's see if I can take it. What would you do with it? Come on, there are other things I'm sure you can get, but not these guys. See, that's not so bad. There is not much vegetation here as elsewhere. You also notice some of the local wildlife running around. There are a couple purple creatures scurrying around, but they don't look interesting. There is actually only one tree you can see right now, and there isn't anything interesting about it. So... Oh, God. They might have made one slight little problem here. Okay, so here's one thing I'm going to give as just a critique here. If you're going to make a game, make sure that all your windows, like all your rooms... Holy mackerel, what was that? Does he hurt me? A strange creature is running around here. It looks like a horned pleborian hork. You also notice the ground rising to the form of a small ledge to the west. Okay, so basically what you don't want to do too much is having it where if I go to the right and then I'm coming up in the next one, and I think it helps if you want to map out the area in your head. If you just have all your rooms kind of move in, obviously, you know, if I go to the left, I should start on the right side of the screen and be moving left continually. It's kind of a reference to the original. It's kind of like in the original adventure games, the text ones where you had no images whatsoever. If you typed "go west," your brain is automatically going to think, I'm going west, and it's going to keep going west. Now, if you go south here, and all of a sudden I'm going west, it's kind of like, okay, I got to remember that if I go south there, I'm going to end up in this area. Now, obviously, here, if I keep going west, I'll end up, you know, continually going west. So maybe it's not going to happen all the time, but it is something just as a note to make sure that don't do that too much because it can really throw off people. You start ending up in situations like I think there was some King's Quest games where if you tried to move around in certain areas, it's like you go left and the next thing you know you're on an area that was like completely different. There is not as much vegetation here as elsewhere. You also notice some of the local wildlife running around. Whoop. What? Where? The one at your feet. There is a blue, funny-looking creature. It's too fast for you to catch it, and it won't give you anything, so leave it alone. But you know me. Man, there's a lot of territory here. There is sparse vegetation and lots of rocks. A huge rock extends upwards. This entire area must be originally rock and whatever soil and life there is now, developed on top of it. You also notice some of the local wildlife running around. Oh no. There are all kinds of trees and various types of vegetation here. You are at the edge of a swamp. No swamps! Oh, what was this? There is quite an array of plant life here. Trees of all kinds and shrubs and bushes and, oh my, you can't go on. Okay, yeah, I kind of... There is quite an array of plant life here. There is a huge tree to the south and lots of bushes. You haven't seen so much bush since okay. So you've never seen so much bush. I'm going to assume that that wasn't them making a little double entendre. Oh, is this going to be... Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing. And then, of course, over here is the horse creature. The Hork is just running around minding its own business. If your memory serves you right, the pleborians used these creatures as much as humans did horses eons ago. You can't imagine why or how they managed to ride these creatures. Oh, don't you be cute. You briefly consider trying to ride the creature, but then you take a long look at those horns that line its back. Not a good idea. How the pleborians ever rode these things, you'll never know. Besides, the pleborians were quite a small race. I think you'd break this thing's back. Geez, look at the size of you. Then again, you know what you're doing. You believe in going with those first instincts, so you move around to a good spot and climb on the hork. Youch! Oh! As you sat on the hork, the very obvious horns on its back sink into your nether region. In pain, shock, and alarm, you dive off the hork, but alas, it was too late. The spike sank deep into your internal organs and caused you to bleed to death after you smash your face into the soil upon landing. You die slowly, the pain extremely bad, but at least you weren't eaten. Until after you died, that is. You are now dead. Well, I remembered that death. That was one I cracked up at. Okay, so I can't fall off there. There is still quite an array of plant life here. You can see a strange-looking plant at the edge of this small ledge. There is some kind of flower on the plant. You're not close enough. You unceremoniously remove the flower. You briefly imagine what it would be like if someone took your flower without asking. But your mind drifts, and we can't go there. This is the strange flower you stole or borrowed from the nice plant in the jungle. Am I getting the feeling that something's going to be unhappy with me for taking that flower? I guess we'll find out. Alright, so the only other thing I'm thinking right now is the swamp. Ooh, hi little pink guys. Aren't they just adorkable? Wait, is there stuff over this way? What? Where? Darn it! Oh, hey! New stuff! There is not as much Okay. You also notice some of the local wildlife running around. Among some bushes, you see a small crashed ship. The ship is quite small. It must have been an escape vessel. Not that anybody escaped in it. It looks pretty banged up. You can tell it's been here a while since vines have started growing up over it. It has a cockpit with a glass-like protective dome. The dome is cracked and has a hole in it. The cockpit chamber is open due to damage, and you can see inside. There appears to be some stuff in the cockpit. You can see dead leaves and small branches that have gotten inside the cockpit. But you also notice something almost hidden among the leaves. It's a gray code card. You reach into the cockpit through the hole in the dome and grab the code card. You have no way of knowing what it's for, but it is yours. All yours. You feel like you've accomplished something. You feel like you're well on your way to getting off this planet. You feel, You feel kind of sleepy and hungry too. Great. I think that might have been all I need there, but... Alright. Okay, so there's no other way to do anything around here, so I'm going to head up north. There was 2 locations that I have yet to look at. Correct? There's the swamp here. That's this way. And then I think there's... Let me see if I remembered this right. Okay, no. There's nothing else there. Unless I can go north here. I guess I'll look. Nope. Alrighty then. I'll just follow the coast. I'm going to avoid swimming in that, because, God, I hate those kinds of levels. Ooh, what's that? There is much vegetation here. The way to the north is blocked. Okay, fine. Darn. I was hoping for a fancy death. Maybe the thing, like, ate me or something. More stuff. There is much vegetation here, blocking exit to the north. There is a large tree to the west. Oh, really? Is there now? There is a lot of vegetation here. You can see the swamp extending out to the south, and more vegetation to the west. There is a large tree to the northeast. that's actually really good quality, pretty decently detailed background here, like the scenery and everything. I know this is going to sound bad, but I feel like this is taken from something. Like, maybe it's not. It could be wrong. It's just, I've noticed kind of a different... Okay, so, for example... maybe I'm wrong. I was going to say that I could kind of see a little bit of a difference between some set pieces and others where, like, when you first come out of the ship and you're on that thing to the south, you can kind of see that the graphics are... It's a little more... ow, I got this itch on my leg. Ah, there we go. So you can kind of tell the graphics are just a little less like super detailed. But then you come to areas like this and it's like ultra well detailed. I'm wondering if this is like Leisure Suit Larry or something. Well, anyway, let's... You grab on the huge tree and start climbing up. I'm not dying yet? Okay, I did not expect to actually live through that. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't have any more time, so I am going to stop this episode here. In the next episode, I will explore this tree, try to look around underneath the water, and kind of get an idea of what I need to be doing. Obviously, I want to get off the planet, but like with an area like this where it's very open and stuff like that, there isn't as much of a... how should I say it? There isn't as much of a clear path as to how to do that. Now, of course, I'll figure that out as time goes on. So thank you, everybody, for dropping by. I really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out the first episode of this new series. I'm going to try and put up about an episode or two each day. Obviously, I can't guarantee that, you know, judging that I am on call generally all the time now. But I will try and put up episodes as much as I can. I will probably only be able to put up one episode today as I have some appointments I have to go to here pretty soon. But anyway, just bear in mind I will be trying to continue to put up episodes as much as I can. And I do appreciate your patience and everything and watching the episodes that I do put up. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Make sure to hit the notification icon so you can tell when I put stuff up, as YouTube kind of has a bit of an issue with that as well. Comment down below if you liked the episode. Let me know what you think of the game so far. I'm enjoying it. I think it's actually pretty good. It's nice to see. Obviously, they've taken elements from other Sierra Adventure games, so I actually kind of like how they've incorporated a few of them together. I know that I could honestly say it's a cheap way of doing it, but there's one guy working on this whole game, and he did it in a way that still makes it come out looking really good. So I am still impressed by it. Anyway, I think that's all I can come up with. Anyway, yeah, definitely give me your opinion. Tell me what you think. Thanks again, and as always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.